Hola, amigos. Welcome to the Best of Mazatlan Show. My name is Mark Glickman, and I'm your host and publisher of bestofmazatlan.com, the leading digital lifestyle brand of Mazatlan, Mexico. This show will feature entrepreneurs, leaders, local businesses, nonprofits, realtors, musicians, and other stories that showcase the best of Mazatlan, Mexico. I'm excited to host longtime Mazatlan resident Greg Brady, who came to Mazatlan 25 years ago on vacation, fell in love, and has been here ever since. A musician who plays rock music at the best places in town, an author and column writer, a teacher. Let's just say Greg has seen the evolution of Mazatlan up close over the years, and it is TODO BUENO. My compadre Paul Beckman suggested that Greg would be a great guest for the show, and I trust Paul's judgment. So without further ado, welcome to the Best of Mazatlan Show, Greg, and thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, Mark. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to shoot the breeze. I love talking about Mazatlan.
I know. I'm looking forward to talking with you. I'm going to start the show off by turning it over to you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you ended up in Mazatlan and how you ended up staying in Mazatlan.
Well, I was in my early 40s, never married, no kids, and came down to Mazatlan on a dental vacation. I realized I could save thousands of dollars and have my teeth fixed down here, and just immediately fell in love with the place, realized I gotta move here. There's a lot of work for musicians and English teachers. Not very well paid, but it doesn't take much money to get by here. So I just have been here ever since, even in the summertime. I just love it.
That's great. So if you're watching this live, everybody, please like and share this show and send in your questions to Greg on whatever Facebook page you're watching from. The show's also available on the Best of Mazatlan YouTube page and on the Best of Mazatlan Spotify page. And there'll be an archive version of the show also on bestofmazatlan.com. Also, a quick shout out to my producer, Marisa Cali, who couldn't join us today, but her colleague, Dana Luparello, is filling in. So thank you, Dana. So, Greg, tell us about your book, Married in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
How many years had you been living in? There you go. How many years had you been living in Mazatlan before you were inspired to write it?
Well, I started writing for the Pacific Pearl, that tourist magazine.
Yep.
And I started in 2001. And then after a few years, we put together these articles, and that's what it is. When I started writing for the Pearl, I used to make fun of my mother-in-law and all the stuff about being an American married to a Mexican. There's a lot of humorous stuff there, like trying to decide what to name your son. You know, she wanted to name him Jesus Israel. And I'm like, Jesus Israel Brady? That isn't going to sound good.
There's a lot going on there.
Stuff like that. And I had a lot of fun writing it at the time. It was a great period in my life, you know, happily married, little children, living the dream. And you can get it on my Amazon for $2 or 40 pesos. Married in Mexico.
Married in Mexico.
But that was a long, long time ago. Things have changed, like Bob Dylan says.
Yes.
I've kind of lost my sense of humor. I read these old articles and kind of cringe. Things that seem funny to me at the time don't seem very funny anymore, but it's out there.
Yeah, you still have your sense of humor, Greg. You never lose that.
You got to have one here.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Fun city, but you got to kind of roll with the punches.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know we have a lot of common ground, you know, in that way of Mazatlan and 6 degrees of separation. But one of them is that we both moved to Mazatlan probably around the same year. I think you were like
98.
Yeah, 98. That's the year I moved. And you know, back then there wasn't much of a music scene, even as recent as the early 2000s. And you know, I mentioned to you, I interviewed Alfredo Gomez Rubio, owner of Pedro and Lola, and
Great
Rob
guy.
Monaco on the show. And
Yeah.
I know it both had a great deal to do with helping Mazatlan become one of the liveliest live music scenes in
Oh
Mexico.
yeah. Yeah.
And the live music back then used to just be on what Rob used to refer to as the happiest place on the planet, which was the corner of Pedro and Lola's. But now there's live music everywhere in and around Centro. So share with us your thoughts on the evolution of the music scene in Mazatlan and about how and where you broke into it.
Well, my the first time I got up on stage here was with the band Camaleon. And when I came here, they were the band. And their guitar player, Freddie, is world class. He's just unbelievable. And so I got up on stage with him. Here, it's very common for people to get up and play your guitar. You know, in
Right.
the US, it's like, you can't drive my car, you can't kiss my wife, and you can't touch my guitar. But
Right.
here, people are very casual. So yeah, I got up and played Johnny Be Good on Freddie's guitar, and next thing you know, I'm playing with him in a duo, an acoustic duo, acoustic guitars, and now he's playing with his sons who are now grown up. To me, that's the best band in town, Rex.
Okay.
The father and sons. There's just so much love on stage, and the
Oh, that's
youngest
cool.
son's, I swear he's getting better than his dad on guitar.
Wow.
It's just
That's cool. That's a cool
unbelievable.
story.
One time I remember we were playing at Pedro and Lola's inside
Okay.
in the early days, and in comes the family of Pedro Infante, his
Oh, wow.
sister and her son, his nephew. When I moved to Mexico, I didn't know who Pedro Infante was, but
Right.
he's a god here, probably the most popular Mexican ever, but
Right.
he's from here. And so his nephew wanted to get up and sing with us. And he looked just like Pedro Infante. I mean, just like he could have been his brother or son.
Wow.
And he says, how about Cien Años? And I had no idea what song that was, but of course, Freddie knew it. So, yeah, it's amazing the things that happen in this town. To think there I am on stage with, the Frank Sinatra of Mexico's nephew singing one of his old songs.
Wow. It's funny you mentioned Frank Sinatra because I remember it back in the early days in 1998 when I first moved there, when the Mazatlan Hotel Association used to, invite travel writers to come. I can't even think of the name of the event now, but they would have the opening night at this place at the old Pueblo Bonita, the one that's just been renovated in the Golden Zone. And there used to be a singer there that he would do like Frank Sinatra, like karaoke. And I'm thinking, why are we inviting travel writers to Mazatlan and taking them to this place where somebody's singing Frank Sinatra?
Yeah.
And there's so much great music in Mexico.
No,
why are we doing this? I never understood it, but when you said Frank Sinatra, it just brought back that flashback of that time. And I couldn't understand why then we were doing it, but thankfully we changed that. But anyway, tell us about your steady gigs. I know you're playing at a bunch of different places now. Dana, I don't know if you have some images. There we go. I pulled some off your Facebook page.
Oh yeah, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. Okay, but tell us about your steady gigs and where people can see you play. So this is obviously one of them.
Yeah, that's in the Plaza Machado. Yeah, it's a great town for musicians because it's like every night is New Year's Eve here. All these people on vacation, and so there's just live music everywhere you go. Then on Thursday we're playing at Balche, it's like a Greek amphitheater. It's open air. It's just beautiful.
Oh, wow!
And its entrance is near the Seashell Museum.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And that's a really fun place to play because the weather's perfect. You know, it's not going to rain. It's
Right.
just
Right. Yeah.
absolutely perfect. I just leave the gear sitting in the open air, and no pasa nada, you know,
Yeah.
everything's
Yeah. Hey, the
uh,
Seashell Museum lives on. I was happy to see that when I was back
yeah,
there.
they somehow survive year
I
after
know they
year.
keep surviving with all the changes in Mazatlan. The Seashell Museum remains.
You see a lot of places come and go,
Right.
but yeah, that's one of the constants
I
here.
know it absolutely has been. So when you're not playing live music yourself, where do you like to go to hear music?
Well, the Plaza Machado, that is
Yeah,
the heart of town.
right.
Just a wonderful
Yeah,
place.
it's amazing. It's almost like a battle of the bands now. Like one band has to play a song and one has to stop so the other band can play because they're all happening all at once now. It's just crazy what's going
Yeah,
on there.
Rob had it pretty well organized, but now
Right.
that he's left, things are kind of slipping out of control.
Yeah.
Rob, if you're out there, come back. We
Rob,
need
we
you.
need you back. Rob, come back.
This town ain't the same without him. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember when he first came to town with his buddy Chris, the virtuoso bass player, and they were just such great musicians
Yeah.
and
As Rob
really
used to
changed
always
things.
say, 88 keys open up a lot of doors,
Yeah.
and Rob opened up a lot of doors in Mazatlan and brought a lot of talented musicians to the destination.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah. He can play with anybody, you
yeah,
know.
he really could. Any style, anything.
Yeah.
He was masterful that way.
Yeah. When
And
I first came here, the only other foreign musicians there was Jock,
oh
who
yeah, Jock.
recorded
Yeah,
with Harry Belafonte and Henry Mancini and people like that.
I know. I
Uh,
know.
and Wally, my good buddy Wally, who has a great voice. But now there are just so many foreign musicians here. The word is out. You know, there's lots of work, and so lots of people come down for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
winter time and play. And a lot of the young Mazatlan kids are really good. There are lots of
yeah. I've
good
noticed that.
bands.
Yeah, that's great to see.
Cannon and Kraken and The Truth and just lots of great music.
Yeah, that's great to see. I'd love to see that. Yeah, I have a friend of mine who from here in Virginia is moving to Mazatlan soon. He met a woman who lives in Culiacan, and he's going to be moving to Mazatlan soon. He's a guitar player here, so I'll
Oh,
definitely put him in touch with you when he
oh,
gets
great.
there.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, uh, just he met a woman. There are so many beautiful women in this town. I've been in a lot of places, but I have never ever seen a place where everywhere you are, you get on the bus. There are 3 Miss Mexicos on the bus. It's
Yep,
just
exactly. Well, all the
phenomenal.
Miss Mexicos were coming from Mazatlan for years and years and years. I don't know if that's still the case, but you're right there. So, speaking of beautiful women, tell me how you met your wife.
Well, she was studying English at the WAS, the University of Sinaloa, and so I said I would help her with her homework. And well, one thing led to
I know.
another.
Yeah, we come to a stop in the show right now.
Yeah. One thing I would say about when you marry a Mexican woman, you marry your whole family. It's like marrying a totem pole, you know,
Right.
it's a big package deal. And her family's been just wonderful to me.
Oh, that's great.
And
Yeah, I've been to a
yeah,
few
it's been
Mexican.
just a magical time. I wish I'd come down earlier. I was afraid. You know,
Right.
there's like this fear campaign going on. The
Right.
governments, I think, don't want millions and millions of retirees moving to Mexico and taking all their billions of dollars with them. So they make you afraid, like you're going to get shot down here or something. But really, I feel much safer here than I did back home. I haven't been beaten up or
No, it's
arrested
happened.
once.
There you go. No, it's true. It's always been a perception thing with Mexico. And I mean, and let's face it, the U.S. isn't too safe right now of a place to be. So I always felt
Yeah,
safe in Mazatlan. So,
yeah.
I know that's something you wanted to emphasize. And that's kind of the reason I wanted to do a show that was positive about Mazatlan, because so much you hear so much, like El Chapo's son just got arrested and that whole scenario that happened. And then people
Oh yeah,
overreact and suddenly, it's not safe to come to Mazatlan. And it's just, it's one person in a big city, and it's, the people are just beautiful in Mazatlan, and it's really is a safe place to be. And
yeah,
so,
yeah, absolutely. The real dangers here are the sidewalks.
right.
You got to really watch your step. There's
Yeah,
rebar sticking
absolutely.
out, manholes with no cover,
Yeah,
and well, the alcohol. It's easy to drink too much
right,
here. The ocean, those rip tides can be dangerous.
right, right.
But oh, and the traffic,
Yeah,
distracted drivers.
right.
One
But
of the
that's
great
good.
things is you don't need a car here. I haven't had a car, and I love that.
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, the public transportation's improved tremendously, and
Yeah. Uh,
the
and now
quality
with
is
Uber and Didi and stuff, uh, it's really affordable. I haven't even ridden a bus. I used to spend hours a day on the buses, but now I
yeah.
just,
When I was just back at Mazatlan getting my dental work done, I think I was walking about 10 miles a day. I just love the new Malecone, and
oh, isn't it?
it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, talk about being careful where you walk, but the improvements that they've made to the Malecone are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I could just walk for miles going, with the ocean
Absolutely.
alongside, and
It's one of the seven wonders of the world.
yeah, it's
They say
spectacular.
there's a nice Malecon in Havana, Cuba, or Alexandria, Egypt, but nothing like ours. It's,
No,
I don't know how many miles, 10 miles or something. You can just walk
yeah,
for hours.
that's been kind of a loose number over the years, but whatever it is,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
it's
you can walk all the way from Olas Altas to Valentino's,
yes,
and
and I
you're
did
just
every day, and it was
on
great.
the
I love it.
and the people watching. I mean, you see the mariachi guys in their uniforms
Oh, I
walk
know.
by, and a
It's
truckload of tourists whooping and hollering,
Yeah,
and
I know. It's
it's
phenomenal.
like a
It is.
Fellini movie. It's
It
just surreal.
it
Uh,
really is. It really is. Well, since we're talking about the Malecone and that improvement, talk to me, as someone who's lived in Mazatlan for 25 years, what you consider to be some of the most impactful and positive improvements to the city, and your perception as to what's happening now in Mazatlan and in the future.
well, boy, it's really taking off. The pandemic was, uh, a bucket of cold water, but that's
Right,
over now.
right.
And uh, well, the bike paths. My kids both ride their bikes everywhere, and they make the most of those really nice bike paths, especially along the Malecon there.
Yeah, those are phenomenal.
Um, and yeah, when I came here, the whole area around the Fisherman's Monument was kind of seedy.
Right.
And now they've really spruced it up. It's much more attractive. Ever since they had that tourist tianguis, I
Yeah, the
forget
Tianguis was the turning point,
Yeah,
because they had been talking about all these things for years. I look at Mazatlan as before Tianguis and after Tianguis, because
yeah,
Tianguis
yeah,
was the catalyst for so many improvements that had been talked about for so many years. So when I came back for Tianguis and saw it, I was like, wow, they
yeah,
finally
yeah,
have done it. It's fantastic, and they're continuing to do it now with the aquarium and
yeah,
building parks. I remember back in
right.
1998, because I had a 4-year-old son at the time. There were no parks. There were no place to really take kids, and there were no bike paths or anything like that. So
Right.
um,
Yeah.
that's it was so great to see. And So that so Tianguis, I do think was a real big catalyst for it. But Mazatlan's still growing and still,
Oh, it's booming. Yeah,
yeah,
more and
like,
more. The secret is out. I mean,
yeah,
Forbes magazine named it as one of the best places to retire, and
yeah. That can be a curse too. I've been on both sides of that one.
like Jock used to say, this town is becoming a victim of its own success.
Right, right.
Uh,
Good old Jack.
yeah,
I miss talking with him. He was, it's funny. I met his
yeah,
wife too. I had dinner with them at Pedro and Lolo's one time, and she and I knew some people from New York. I think she was a dancer, and I used to do PR for the 92nd Street Y and I also promoted a lot of dance companies in New York, and so we had a lot of common ground too. But I used to love talking with Jock and his wife.
yeah, yeah.
Good people, good people.
Really, really great
So now,
people.
like Cerritos was there back, in the late '90s and stuff, but it hadn't really developed or become a neighborhood that people lived in. And I know there's other
Right.
neighborhoods in Mazatlan now that are growing and evolving. So for someone who's considering moving to Mazatlan, what can you advise them about the different neighborhood options? I mean, as a longtime resident,
Well, I'd say, first of all, rent, don't buy.
right?
I've known people who just came here or didn't even come here, bought a house on the internet without ever coming. And then they found out they didn't like their neighborhood. So rents are relatively cheap here. So I would say uh, move around. You fall in love with Mazatlan. You go downtown, you just think it's, wonderful. Um, but I'd say rent first.
Mm-hmm.
We used to live the first 15 years on this hill out of town. Kind of, you go by it on your way to the airport, and there are a bunch of antenna towers on top of it by El
Mm-hmm.
Conche. And we could see all the development. Actually, there's more population growth and development on the other side of the tracks. We see all of
Interesting.
what's growing, in Cerritos and so on along the beach.
Right.
But it's also the working class neighborhoods on inland are just booming too.
Interesting.
I live kind of near the baseball stadium, and I love it. It's a very nice, quiet neighborhood. You can't tell if it's Carnival or Semana Santa. It doesn't flood.
Wow.
You might want
Nice.
to check out before you buy a place.
Yep.
You might notice the sidewalk is 5 feet high.
Right.
That's a sign maybe your street turns into a lagoon in the summertime.
Yeah. I remember my car floating down the street one day.
Oh boy. Yeah, yeah. Seriously. Where
Yeah.
was that?
I came out, I forget what restaurant it was. It was in the Golden Zone, but I remember I came out of my restaurant and my car was floating down the road. I had to
Yeah.
kind of steer it off to the side there.
Yeah. The Golden Zone was largely lagoon, and they filled it in with uh gravel and whatever, but it still keeps wanting to turn into a lagoon again.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for that to happen there. It happens
Yeah.
kind of quick, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
great in the season like now. It's just beautiful weather. It'll be nice every day till
I know it's
July.
the
But
most perfect weather from November to even through May now. It's just
yeah, even
perfect.
June has its charm. But
Yeah,
have you been
yeah,
here in like August, September?
yeah. In fact, my first year working at El Cid, I remember Carlos Verdigay said to me, "You have to stay here for the summer, but I have to, but I'm leaving. So see you later."
Yeah,
And
I'm
I'm like,
going to
"Wait a second, where are you
Switzerland.
going? I just started here. You can't leave." And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, no, you need to experience it, but I'm leaving now. I'll, I'll
And
see you in a few
actually
months."
it has its charms. Thank God for air conditioning. But
Right.
going to the beach on a hot summer day, it's bearable.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It's, look it's hot everywhere right now with climate change. So
No
I don't think,
kidding.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think Mazatlan has anybody beat that much in the summer anymore. It's hot as hell in Virginia right now in the summer, so it
yeah,
doesn't seem any
yeah.
hotter than it is in Mazatlan. So,
And I lived 10 winters in Edmonton.
woof.
So I think 40 above is better than 40 below.
Yeah, every time, every time.
Uh, so yeah, and people are so friendly here. I just,
It's true.
the taxi drivers, the waiters, just people in general, they're extremely friendly. The more Spanish you speak, uh, the more you get, I think, out of the local culture.
Absolutely.
I recommend everybody try to study some Spanish.
Definitely. So you were teaching English for a while at Monterey, or where?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. My friend Sean, he said, they've offered me a job teaching at the Tec de Monterrey, the most expensive, prestigious private school in town, but I can't do it. It's too far. It's out near your old house. Why don't you? And I'm like, are you kidding?
Hmm.
But I did. I have a BA in history, and suddenly there I am teaching, well, like young Nicholas Berdegay, the Alfredo's daughter,
Oh wow.
all the Feltons, the kids are driving to school in Hummers and BMWs, and I'm riding the bus. But it was the most wonderful experience. Those kids were fantastic. They really
Yeah,
give me
that's
hope
great.
for the future of the world. They're respectful, polite, optimistic, nice, just great kids.
Yeah, that's nice. It's good to
It was
hear.
high school too. I
Right.
mean, nobody's smoking in the bathroom. There's no graffiti in the bathrooms. It's
Yeah,
just, uh,
that's cool.
it was just a wonderful experience to do that.
Yeah. Oh,
Except
that's
the
neat.
pay,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable how low salaries are here.
Oh yeah. Well, I know. I mean, I know they're generally low there anyway, but I mean, teachers just are not respected enough in this country and not country. I mean, they're so valuable and they just don't get paid enough. I mean, it's all there is to
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I make more as a musician than I do
Yeah.
as a teacher.
Right. Yeah. And there's something wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
It's above our pedigree right now, but there's something wrong with that.
but then I've learned to teach online thanks
Oh,
to the
good.
pandemic. At first, you got to be kidding. I'm a dinosaur. I can't figure out how to use a cell phone. How
Right.
am I going to teach online? But once you get the hang of it, it's quite convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I
You
think
don't
it's
even have to
changed our
wear
world.
shoes or pants or anything. You just put
Right,
on a
right,
shirt. And,
absolutely. So
uh,
you still teaching now online or?
yeah.
Oh, good.
Just English, though. When I was
Hmm.
teaching at the Tec de Monterey, which turned into Tech Millennial, I was teaching art history, philosophy, literature. It was just like a dream. Uh, but now I'm just teaching English, which
Okay.
is, you realize what a ridiculous language English is, like
I
trying to
know.
explain the spelling.
Yeah, I
Spanish
know.
is a much more logical language.
Definitely. I'm trying to prepare myself for coming back, and I've been doing the Duolingo thing every day,
Oh, yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
keep my streak alive,
Yeah. Yeah.
just to get it back.
Duolingo is good. Yeah, there's so many resources on the internet now.
No, absolutely.
It's
I know.
just great.
Yep, no doubt.
And one
So,
thing I wanted to say is what a wonderful town this has been for my kids to grow up in.
yeah, tell me a little bit about that. So, how old are they now?
Well, they're in their early 20s and they
Okay.
still live here in the family house. There's no shame in Mexico in living with your parents
No, no.
uh, well into your adulthood. And but like my son's a surfer,
Okay.
and surfing's free.
Yeah,
Edmonton, we go skiing, but it's expensive,
right.
and you got to travel. But here, you can just hop on the bus and go up to Playa Brujas or wherever, and it's free, and it's a really nice community, all of his
Yep.
friends. And
That's
my
cool.
daughter's into art, like painting.
Oh,
And this is
neat.
a town where actually, that kind of artist is doable. It's
Yeah.
appreciated. There's art everywhere.
Yeah, there really is art and music. I mean,
Yeah.
Mazatlan, culturally, Mazatlan has so much to offer in that way. I mean, that's
It's a very
fantastic.
kid-friendly town, too.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
all the places that I used to play, we could bring the kids to. So they got to uh, see dad playing in the bars since they were old enough to crawl.
Right,
Uh,
right,
Whereas in the US, if you're playing taverns, I mean, you got to be 21 to come in.
right.
And here you have all these nice open air places, just a very kid friendly town.
Yeah, no,
And they ride their
absolutely.
bikes everywhere. Um, we don't
Yeah.
have a car. One of the real problems up north is teenagers and cars.
No,
It
I
seems like
know.
every
And
teenager has to
cell
rent.
phones while they're driving.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah,
No,
I've
it's
just seen many great things about it for all ages. I mean, it's a great place to retire, and it's a great place to grow up.
yeah. It's interesting when back in the late 90s when we first moved there, Mazatlan was very much like there was the old guard that owned all the hotels and their
Mhm.
sons were all
Yeah.
involved in the business. So, and they represented the new guard that was going to come on at some point when the old guard finally left. And so it's exciting to see how that's evolved, how the sons took over their companies and they brought like a whole new fresh perspective to Mazatlan and now it continues through their kids and then the next generation um, it's been exciting I'm sure for you as a 25-year resident and for me too to go back and forth and see the positive changes that Mazatlan and how the youth movement has evolved and is bringing Mazatlan to even better things in the days ahead. So it's been exciting to see.
Yeah. I remember once playing at Pedro and Lola's, and in comes the Verdigay family, and
Mm-hmm.
Julio was still alive then.
Right.
And yeah, they're kind of a dynasty here, of
Right.
course.
Absolutely.
And then Nicholas Verdigay, was one of my high school students,
Right.
just a very smart, respectful, dignified, great kid. I wonder what he's doing now, but I'm sure
Yeah. No,
he's
I'm curious too. Now that
doing
you
all
mention it,
right.
well, I loved Carlos had just taken over from Don Julio when he brought me on as his first marketing director, and I loved Carlos. He's one of life's characters. He's just a really smart guy, very
Yeah.
funny, and I'm just so happy and proud of him for the way El Cid has grown and evolved over the years. He's done a fantastic job, and so that's been nice to see. He's one of my favorite people. He's just really one of life's characters.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've made it to the lightning round of the show, Greg, where I have a couple quick questions. You just fire off whatever comes to your mind. What's your favorite place to eat in Mazatlan?
Well, I like Pedro and Lola, but there's hardly any bad restaurants in this town,
Yeah, that's
really.
true.
Even the little, I mean, from my house, you could walk for 2 minutes and there must be half a dozen places you could get, you know, tacos or ceviche.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, the food is great. Sometimes the service is kind of sketchy, but if you're patient, it's
Right.
all good. Playa Brujas, Leonzo's is a fun
Hmm.
place to go. But if you like seafood, this is just heaven.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
fantastic. Okay,
so,
yeah.
uh,
Pedro is Alfredo's daughter's cooking in the kitchen now at Pedro and Lola's, I think. No.
oh, really?
Yeah, I
Huh.
think she's the new chef there now.
Maria Elena, I think was her name.
Yeah. All right. Now, I'm not good with
Oh,
names, but I'll take your word for it.
she was one of my high school students
Of course she
back
was.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay. What's your favorite bar in Mazatlan?
Edgar's. It's kind of an old-fashioned place a few blocks down from the market, and they have I don't know, 100 historical photos in there.
Oh, cool.
And at 2 o'clock, well, Mexican 2:15,
Right.
2:20, they bring out the botana. Just everybody gets a little beans and rice and maybe a chicken wing or something
Yeah, I love that.
free. And but they don't really have here like the bar idea where you have this big long slab of wood
Right.
where people rest their elbows and tell the bartender their troubles. It's mostly tables and chairs.
Right. That's true.
La Katrina has a good bar. I mean, a
Yeah.
bar, but
I like the bar at El Presidio too. Has that nice long.
Oh,
stretch
isn't
of
that
bar.
a beautiful, beautiful
I love
place?
that bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many places have such great character in Mazatlan. I mean, they all do, but I mean, some are just, there's open air places where there's trees and,
Yeah.
I love that.
And our friend Hector, he's got a very nice place.
Yeah, he does a great job in there. He's a good guy. I enjoyed talking with him. What's your favorite food to eat in Mazatlan?
Well, what I like is a filet of Dorado stuffed with shrimp and octopus.
Okay.
Like at Pancho's, they do that really well. And yeah, that's my favorite dish. At the salmon at Pedro and Lola's is amazingly good. It comes from South America.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's funny to come to Mazatlan and order salmon, but
right.
It's really good.
Yeah, I definitely overdose on shrimp when I'm in Mazatlan.
Yeah, it's the shrimp capital of the world.
Yeah, no. I remember when I first moved there, I was like, wow, this is so good. It was the shrimp wrapped in bacon and cheese. And I was like, wow, if I keep eating this, I'm going to die of a heart attack.
That's my other favorite dish. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the ceviches as well. They're just off the charts.
Yeah. My son is studying aquaculture and marine biology here.
Oh, very cool.
I think that's going to be a big thing in the future. As the ocean becomes more and more depleted, you're going to see more and more farm fish.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great. That's exciting. How about your favorite beach in Mazatlan?
Well, Playa Brujas reportedly has the cleanest water. It's amazing how clean the water is in Mazatlan, much cleaner than Vallarta or a lot of these other famous places. But yeah, Playa Brujas is a long way out. Also, just along the Avenida del Mar, where all those palapas are.
Right.
It's my son knows all the names of the beaches, La Bomba and all this. I just have a vague idea. But
he's a surfer, so he needs to know.
Yeah, he knows the beaches, but it's all good. I mean, Olas Altas is a picturesque beach with those little islands offshore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was really happy to see that there was that initiative where they were cleaning up the beaches and, trying to get the trash off. Because I remember the first summer I spent there, I was like, oh my God. I mean, where do these people think the garbage is going to go? But, there's, been much more awareness about that. I know there's been volunteer groups that go out there and help clean the beaches, and they added trash cans to the Malecone. And
what a concept!
It sounds simple, but not always. But no, that's great. What's your favorite activity in Mazatlan when your friends come to visit?
Oh, I guess go out and see live music.
Okay.
Drink a lot of beer. In this town, they want you to have fun. They want you to have a good time. I mean, everywhere you go, the Pacifico Brewery is there. They inaugurate a new thing, and there's the governor and the Pacifico girls.
Right, right. Yeah, that's
So
funny.
yeah, it's a beer drinker's paradise here. So yeah, in all honesty, I guess I'd have to say drinking beer outdoors.
Okay. What's your favorite recent improvement to Mazatlan?
Well, I guess the bike paths. I mean,
Okay.
that's not that recent. Um,
But it's a difference maker.
yeah, especially like I say for my kids,
Yeah,
it's just really safe and
right.
wonderful. But well, also them fixing up the Freeman Hotel, I think, was a big step. You know, that
Yeah,
was such
yeah.
an eyesore for so many years, and now it's just beautiful.
That's great.
Um, and the convention center, it's had a tough time during the pandemic,
Right, I
but it's
bet.
really a great facility.
It
It's
is. Yeah, they did a great, it was great. You know, they had the Tianguis there. And so I got to spend a lot of time there. And it's a great facility. Um, and one of the guys I used to work with actually at El Cid, Ainer Broden, just came back and I think he just started something called Mazatlan Meetings or something where he's like bringing a lot of meetings to Mazatlan and getting more use out of that convention center, which
oh
is,
great,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a good thing because it really is a great facility.
it's
Um,
huge. I
yeah,
mean,
and it's huge.
absolutely huge.
Yeah, I was so glad that Mazatlan got Tianguis because for years Mexico would just have Tianguis in Acapulco every year. Just it was like a given. You'd go to Acapulco, but
Yeah,
um,
Tianguis is a tourist fair. If for those who
yes,
don't know
it's
the
where all the
word,
business of Mexico gets done. It's where all the travel agents come, all the operators. It's where the airlines come. It's where business is booked for the year in Mexico. So it's a very important show.
yeah,
Uh, to be able to showcase Mazatlan, I think really helped the city a lot to have that event.
and the road to Durango. You know, that
Yes.
was a big difference.
Well, that's really turned around. The improvements to the roads have given Mazatlan, the summer occupancy used to be dead, but now that Mexican market has opened up because of the
There
highway.
are more people here in the summer than there
Right.
are right now.
And that was never the case. It was
Right.
always like dead in the summer, but
Yeah,
now
yeah.
the
Now
Mexican
it's
market
people
is
from inland just pouring down here. They get
pouring
these
down from
buses and they rent a hotel and bring grandma and the kids and everybody and just
exactly.
think they're in paradise. And
Yeah.
where
It's
they're
just
coming from is hotter than hell too. So
exactly. So they don't know the differences.
yeah, and the ocean breeze,
Yeah.
it's really booming in the summer too.
Yeah, it really has. That's been a significant change over the
Yeah,
years.
yeah, really.
All right. Well, great job, Greg. Great talking with you. Now
Yeah,
I'm going to,
thanks, Mark.
yeah, it's really good to know you. And I look forward to seeing you when I'm there next. Now I'm going to turn it over to you before we end the show for you to say whatever you want.
Okay, well, I would say, for one thing, medicine and I mean, medical things are very affordable here. I had both my hips replaced here for a fraction of the cost, and my teeth all fixed up. So you can really save money by coming down here and having medical dental work done. That's what originally brought me here. Um, and I'd say don't be afraid. It's great here. Have never felt like a stranger from my very first day in town here. The people are very friendly. The foreign community is very nice. You'll make friends immediately if you want to. Just go where the people are and say hi. Where are you from? And next thing you know, you've got friends. It's a very friendly place.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, thanks so much, Greg, for being here. I'm going to sign off my Best of Mazatlan show with this. We all have number. The glass is half full, and if you're lucky, show. Adios, amigos.